call the 6:30 p.m. Mr. Mallory not being here, Ms. Hines, would you lead us in invocation, and when she finishes, if we could all remain standing, join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Father, we stretch our hands to Thee. No other help we know. And Father, we know that if You withdraw Yourself from us, we have no place to go. And so, Father, this evening we come in the name of Jesus to say thank You for this day. Thank You for Your loving kindness and all of Your tender mercies. Thank You, our Father, that You provide for us day by day and minute by minute, second by second. And now, Holy Spirit, we just ask for Your presence and Your guidance in this meeting tonight. We thank You for all that are assembled here tonight. And we thank You for Your grace and mercy as You keep us throughout eternity. It's in Jesus' name we pray, and all the believers said amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Okay, first order of business be the approval of the agenda as published. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. I have a motion second. Have any questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so ordered. Next order of business be the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting for July the 9th, 2018. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as published?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. I have a motion second. Do I have any questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so ordered. Next order of business, at this time I'd like to ask Willie Sipes, if you would, Willie, step up to the podium here for me. And your family is more than welcome to stand by you if they want to. But on the part of the city and the city council, the citizens of the city, I just wanted to commend you for the job that you did. And I'll just read what I was going to send you a letter, but I thought you done such a good job that I wanted the citizens to see who did that work. You done a terrific job at that. But the letter says, please allow me to take this opportunity on behalf of the city of Grantville and its citizens to thank you for your recent efforts to construct 6 concrete benches for our parks at your Eagle Scout project. Your project has resulted in the citizens of our city having for their use 6 very heavy and sturdy benches that will no doubt serve this community for many years to come. They are an excellent tribute to your hard work and dedication. I have no doubt that your parents, Brian and Katie, are extremely proud of you, as are we all. And I also want to take this chance to commend them for the excellent job they have done in raising such a fine son. Good luck to you, Willie, as you continue your scouting experience as well as with your educational efforts. If I can ever be of assistance to you, please do not hesitate to contact me. With best regards. Again, thank you very much. We appreciate it, and you've done a fine job. It looked nice out there.
Thank you.
All right, next order of business will be the public hearing for the City of Grantville fiscal year 2018-19 proposed budget.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. We'll open the public hearing at 6:35. And if anybody in the audience would care to come forward and speak to the City Council about the City of Grantville fiscal year 2018-29 proposed budget, please come to the podium. You will note that the budget as proposed has no property tax increase for the City of Grantville residents. We have elected to go back to the millage rate of 4.959.
Anyone in the audience wish to speak on the budget? Have any questions? Nobody?
If not, Mr. Mayor, we can close the public hearing at 6:37. The next item is old business, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. On the old business, we have the second reading of a car wash ordinance number 2018-03.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor and Council, you recall this was presented at your last meeting as a first reading. This is an ordinance that we're being required to put in place by the North Georgia Metro Water Agency. And essentially, this ordinance would require that if in the future anyone constructs a commercial car wash facility, meaning a conveyor type car wash facility where you pull in, stop your car, and it's pulled through by a conveyor system. If anyone in the future constructs a system of that type in the city, it would have to be constructed such that a minimum of 50% of the water used at the facility is recycled. And that's the only requirement of the ordinance. This would be a second reading and final adoption tonight.
Okay, at this point, I'll call for a vote and a motion to adopt the second reading of the car wash ordinance.
I'll make a okay.
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and second, any questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so ordered. Next order of business be prospective CDBG projects for infrastructure improvement, water, sewer, stormwater, and the road on Meriwether Street. Approval of a contract with Allen Smith Consulting for $10,000 for the CDBG grant writing.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I misspoke at the July 9, 2018 City Council meeting concerning our CDBG project and Allen Smith Consulting, which was our recommendation for grant writing services. I was incorrect when I said their fee would be paid from grant funds if awarded. Upon receipt of their contract, the city attorney and I noticed that Allen Smith Consulting charges a fee of $10,000 for grant preparation. This is understandable since the majority of their work is up front, preparing the grant. Allen Smith Consulting remains our recommendation. Monies are available in the 2007-2012 SPLOST funds, streets, roads, and sidewalks allocation for the $10,000 fee, and we recommend approval.
Okay, so you're asking for the approval of the new
The
dollar
contract,
amount.
sir.
Okay,
Since there's a $10,000 fee, that has to be approved by the mayor and city council.
okay, you've heard the recommendation of the city manager. What's the privilege of the council?
I'll make a motion that we approve.
Okay, I have a motion, do I have a second?
And authorize the mayor to sign the contract.
I'll do that.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Do we have any questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, so ordered. Next item will be new business, the first reading of an ordinance 2018-4, City of Grantville fiscal year budget 2018-19.
And again, this is just a first reading tonight on an ordinance to adopt the 2018-2019 budget. No action is required. This will be presented at your next meeting, your August 13th meeting, for second reading and final approval.
Okay. No action required.
No, sir.
Moving on with proposal to revitalize downtown Grantville using art. Create an art district using street art and storefront depictions.
Yes, sir. We have with us tonight Pam Burris. If you'd step up, please. Your Honor, Ms. Burris came to us with a proposal to revitalize downtown Grantville with art. In this regard, I think back at what my many mentors always told me. They told me a good action is one that makes sense, fits the current need, is affordable, novel, timely, feasible, and most importantly, won't blow up in our faces. Street art and storefront depictions fits this bill. Look what a coat of paint did at City Hall. It brightened up the area. While we have a historic downtown, there's nothing historic about our empty storefronts. We need to brighten up downtown and create a buzz about our downtown. We suggest using art will begin to create that buzz. I also suggest that if the council approves of the street art and storefront depictions, that we allocate $1,000 to assist in this endeavor. And now I will turn it over to Mrs. Burris.
Hi, thank you for having me. My name is Pam Burris, and I'm a current resident of Sonoy, Georgia. And I've actually been a Coweta County resident for about 13 years now. I won't bore you too much with the history of how I found out about Grantville, but we passed through about 12 years ago, and we actually went to reuse the past. And there, at the time there was more going on than there is now, but not enough to bring us back. So it took us 12 years before we even came back to Grantville, even though we lived in Newton and then Sonoy. My husband and I actually started riding motorcycles last year, and we drive around to different towns looking for small, hole-in-the-wall barbecue places and stuff like that. Well, we passed back through Grantville to see what was going on. Not much going on. But we did stop and take some pictures in front of the passenger depot, looked in the windows, and noticed that the buildings were falling apart. Like, I don't even have to sugarcoat it. Y'all know what's going on. I've seen things going around the internet where there is an artist named Todd Bob, and he actually takes unexpected items and stuff that people would either consider eyesores or just unusual items, and paints them up to make unusual art that gets people talking about the city and gets people talking about, just being there. Something that people want to take pictures of. I know a lot of people have tried to bring Grantville back in the past, and I think that they do it by trying to bring businesses in and hoping the people would come. My idea is more or less bring the people in and hope that the businesses will come. And I think that one way to do that is by creating something on the outside of Grantville, which, the town is fantastic. It's equipped for people to pass through. There's parking, there's lots of places to hang out and to sit and to take pictures of. So you focus less on the inside of the buildings for now. You get them talking about the outside by using art and by using different items, which I have some pictures to show you, and by almost creating fake window fronts. So you're not actually putting businesses in buildings that aren't equipped to hold businesses right now. I call it windows of opportunity. So you're basically blocking off about like a foot or two section behind the windows and creating storefronts using a fresh coat of paint, window displays, making artificial businesses that kind of serve as a backdrop for people that are passing through town so that they can picture themselves having a business in Grantville. So, is it okay if I bring up the pictures to show y'all?
Sure.
Okay.
I think that's important that they have a visual demonstration.
And there's a lot more information here, but I'm just going to show you. So the first tab is the unexpected art. And you can see on the front, all the can see. Is it okay when I'm up here or? Okay. But you can see how they use different like utility boxes and stuff, and they paint it up. And it doesn't have to necessarily be like this. This is just showing how different items can be dressed up a little bit and create conversation. And that's kind of the goal, is just to get people to talk about Grantville, because as long as I've lived here, a lot of people haven't known about Grantville, or they say, you know, oh, I know about Grantville, but there's nothing there, so we don't go there. So my idea is to get people to come here and give them something to talk about. There's lots of little things that you can do, even to play on the cracks in the buildings. This is just artificial shadows that somebody had painted down there. That's just something cute and catchy that you know, people will Instagram, will share on social media. Fixing, you know, broken down things if the building's not being used, as long as it's not, you know, I know that's more of a structural change, but painting the bridges, little things like that. But then there's also a lot of things around Grantville that may be considered eyesores, but you can paint them up to be different little eye-catching things. All of this is overgrown with ivy and neglected, and I feel like if you paint some of those up, it would also create an interesting way to view art. And this is how some towns around Georgia, that's Thomason's, one of our neighbors, Griffin, one of our neighbors, how they're using art. Atlanta, Sugar Hill, that's Watkinsville, Athens, that's in Atlanta, Woodbury right down the street. They're using art too, and as you can see, people are actually interacting with the art. So it's not just about people taking a picture, it's about them coming here, interacting, sharing, and creating a buzz. And then as far as storefronts go, this is just history. So these are historical colors. So a lot of paint companies are actually, they actually have produced historical color palettes that are coming back into fashion. A lot of these colors, and you see how much they love color, but a lot of these colors are the same ones that were used in the 1800s, 1900s, that we can actually play off each other to create different storefronts. It's hard to tell by this picture just because of my printer, but if you take a regular storefront like we have now, you put out tables and chairs which people can use to sit on anyway. We make a little mock-up window front, block off the back so you can't see mold, you can't see ceilings falling in, you can't see all the ugly. You just let people see what the possibility is of having a business here. Obviously that's current, how a little coat of paint can brighten it up. And it's still classy, still simple, a bookstore, you know, library, some other storefront examples. But that's just ways to kind of make it look like a thriving community until there's enough foot traffic to support the businesses. Let's see. Okay, that's just other ways. I'll go back to the bench. Would y'all like to see this or?
I've seen it.
Okay. But here's where the best part comes in. I know that budget's obviously a concern, and I know that a lot of people kind of fight over what should we spend the money on. And I know that the buildings are owned by people, and those should be the responsibility of the people. My idea is to get the community involved, to donate the artwork, so it's of no cost to the city, but it gives them a chance to leave their legacy and to be a part of bringing back Grantville. So I have artist friends and just other people in the community and stuff that are interested in donating their time, their services, leftover paint, or there's a construction company, he's like, what can I do to help? He's like, I can donate my services to help clean out some of this stuff. So my ultimate goal would be to eventually repair the buildings and to get the necessary people who own the buildings to do the proper repairs. And I think that we all understand business, and it's hard to convince somebody that they need to make the repairs when there's not enough businesses to support it. But if we can bring in the traffic and show that there is the traffic coming through, then certain people will spend the money necessary to fix the buildings so that they can house those buildings, so they can house the businesses. So that's kind of my pitch. Any questions?
questions or comments?
So is this a decision that has to be made now?
Well, it doesn't have to be made now. There's certainly a synergy going around, but it is one that, because some of the painting of the street art would involve city fixtures, the city commission would have to grant their permission. Certainly, it could be under the supervision of the city manager, who would approve the projects as they come up. You can start as simple as painting a fire hydrant, but the fire hydrant is city property. So the city council has to grant permission to do it. Certainly, we would take this to the Historic Preservation Commission, although there's, and I'll defer to the city attorney, there are opinions that we cannot regulate the paint on buildings.
Well, painting is temporary.
Painting is
You know,
temporary.
that's something to think about. I think it's a good idea, but you know, there's been some issues about the movie industry coming here and painting some stuff. You know, and then it kind of be nice to do this. I think it would create interest, but maybe possibly it of course not be permanent. You know, if it needed to be reverted back to his historical state, am I making sense?
Mhm.
Okay.
There's one picture that caught my eye, and if you pass that down, looking at a storefront right now that is vacant, a little paint on the storefront changes the whole look of the building. And that caught my eye. That just the simple sprucing up of the windows and everything seems to make it more attractive. And I think we have to make downtown Grantville more attractive. And if we can use art to get people here, we might want to give it a shot.
Mark, you got it?
My biggest concern would be probably addressed to Mr. Mitchell. The HPC has been diligent on trying to retain the flavor of downtown. By approving such an action, which we can't do, we could approve to do city-owned, but we could not approve to do the buildings that are owned by others.
Certainly, utilizing or putting art on property owned by someone else, that's obviously going to require coordination and approval of that property owner. And so I think the main thing that the presentation tonight is just simply to kind of make you aware of this and get some general sense if it's something that the council would be supportive of. As the city manager indicated, I think they do have in mind painting some things that are city property, and that of course would require approval of the council. As far as the Historic Preservation Commission is concerned, my understanding is they're working to keep them abreast, make them aware of what's planned here in looking at our Historic Preservation Ordinance. I don't believe that it requires a certificate of appropriateness. Our ordinance talks about architectural changes, structural changes, and that sort of thing, and that's not what this is. I do have a call into an individual with the state historic preservation office that oversees city historic preservation ordinances like ours, to see if she agrees with my position on that. And as soon as I get that information, I will refer that back to the city manager. But my reading of our ordinance, I don't think it requires a certificate of appropriateness from the Historic Preservation Commission to do this. I do think keeping them informed, getting them on board with it is a great thing, but I don't think it requires their approval.
May I address something else, like in relation to that? I know that the topic of buildings was brought up, and we have gotten permission to use the buildings to do this too. So some of the major building owners have already given me permission to do the painting in order to help them see the potential in the town. But we do have a lot of community support too, and a lot, like I met with the leadership sponsor for Troup County High School, and she wants to get her leadership team involved. The Newnan High School leadership teacher wants her leadership team to let Grantville be a project. We've had Cub Scouts reach out to us, Eagle Scouts reach out to us. Like I said, a number of businesses that just want to help, and they just want to be a part of this. So obviously, one of the main concerns is to keep the historical integrity of Grantville. But one thing that I found in doing all the research and trying to lock down like the history of Grantville is that there's very little information online about the buildings. So I was actually a web designer in my former life, and one of my goals is I created the thisisgrantville.com website, and one of my goals is to attach the art to historical significance. So when you see a piece of artwork, you would actually find, I'll show you here. Is it okay if I come up again? So we would actually attach QR codes so that people could actually walk around and give themselves a self-guide, educating on the history of the buildings, what they've been. You can see pictures of the train station, the passenger depot, back from, like I pulled some from 2006 when it was kind of looked like it was pink and white based on the pictures. And then when it was yellow, like, a bunch of different history on it, information about it. So you're actually educating and preserving the history that right now isn't, I can't find it online. And I'm actually working with one of my friends who was part of the Genealogical Society here at the library, and trying to get some information, trying to get some old documents and pictures, and then quite literally list out all the different buildings in town, so that when people come through, instead of saying, oh, I wonder what this building used to be, they can scan it, they can say, oh my gosh, this was a grist mill, this was a malt factory, Lawless was filmed here. They can find out information about Grantville to kind of create more of a tie to it. And to, I know that just in the 2 weeks that I've been working on this, the information that I've learned about Grantville, it excites me. And I think that it's going to excite other people too when they find out what the Away With You wall, it's not just a wall, like that it was a malt factory, and that the train used to come through, like all of that information I think is fascinating. So that's the secondary goal, or kind of the backhanded goal of this, is to educate people, but to preserve the history. You're just doing it by bringing them in and sucking them in with something catchy and something that's artistic, and then you're sliding into history, and you're sliding in, okay, this building needs to be repaired, this needs to be done, and then you're drawing them in that way. So.
Well, I love art. I think Newnan is just beautiful when you drive through it. I just think it's a good idea. I just like to ponder things in my heart but I do love art, and I think what you have presented is good.
Well, if you're on Facebook, then please follow This Is Grantville. We just share a lot of art that's going on in other towns. Like there's actually a video that was produced of the artist that was doing the Wings mural in Griffin. So we share stuff like that so that you can see how other cities are using it as an attraction to their city. So if you're on Facebook, you can check that out on the thisisgrantville.com website. You can see a Pinterest board where I just pin a bunch of ideas and just kind of spark conversation for stuff like that. I understand that change is hard, but I do think that one way to get people here is to make them a part of it. Instead of just doing the art, you bring them in to do the art. So now they can go back and leave their legacy for their kids. They were a part of reviving Grantville. They were a part, one of my friends, her ancestors actually built the buildings that were here. And she is dying to get her hands on, you know, a project that, so she can leave her legacy in addition to her ancestors, so that her kids can leave their legacy, so that she can have that new tie back to Grantville. So I understand letting it sink in, but I appreciate y'all listening.
But you've done a great presentation.
Well, thank you.
You misunderstand me. And
Oh, no.
I love art.
Yes.
And I do love driving through Newton.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I feel, I mean, like I said, I lived in Newnan for 13 years, and I loved watching it change. But, you know, in all of they do the different things where they have like the cows and they can paint up the cow. I'm sure you've seen them do stuff like that. And it does create buzz. So, any other questions?
So are those pictures, are they actually of your projects, or are they just?
No, this is just,
concepts?
yeah, I'm actually not an artist. I just am an art appreciator. And I guess that's my way of doing art, is I can't paint, I can't draw, but I appreciate the heck out of art. And I love looking at it, and I love being surrounded by it, which my husband's a pilot, and I actually get him to fly me to different cities just so I can be surrounded by art. Like, we went to Memphis, and I was taking pictures of all the murals in Memphis and learning the history of it, because there's you know, the Martin Luther King mural that's right across the street, and then all of a sudden there's like a little plaque that gives history, and I mean, you learn stuff, and I mean, that's what I love, and I think that's what a lot of towns are lacking, is that connection to, this is the town, this is art, this is how it all comes together. So.
well, you know, you may not know this, but we have a citizen who is 90 plus that lives on there. I think he's in the city limits of that. But he knows the history of Grantville like none you've ever heard.
And see, I would love to meet people like that and get their stories before they're not here anymore.
He has many stories, very interesting, and it's the truth.
Yeah, there are a lot of people got out of, Grantville's here because of agriculture and the railroad. Those are the two reasons why Grantville's here, and I think over time. And I was gonna say, if you know, keep this in mind, wherever this goes, that if you have to deal with the historical society, they're gonna try to govern what you do.
Right, I've already, actually, I spoke with them.
And anyway, if they'll go and try to tell somebody that's been here for 50 years what color they can paint their house, they gonna try to govern what you do too.
Yeah, there's actually the city of Roswell, ran into the same issue with the Historical Preservation Commission, and from what I understand, they're governed under the same, like it's the same jurisdiction, and the Attorney General made it pretty clear in his unofficial opinion that it's not a material change to paint on top of paint. Like you said, it's not permanent. Anything could be sandblasted, pressure washed off. Like it's not a permanent thing, but it's something that will get people talking. And one of my, maybe I should just stop there while I'm ahead. I have a lot of ideas and a lot of things, and a lot of people that want to help and that want to see this done. You know, it's a 30-minute drive for me, but it would be an awesome place. I would love to be able to ride through here on my motorcycle and have a place to eat and have a place to relax or listen to music or just experience, you know, downtown Grantville.
I like art also, but I did take a course, which could be a good thing or a bad thing, is historic preservation. And one thing I took away from it, and it was taken down at UGA in Athens.
Ooh, good dogs.
One of the things they said is that the two biggest dangers to historic preservation in a historic building is neglect.
Right.
And paint bricks. And a lot of these older buildings, these bricks they're not baked bricks, they're what they call sun-dried bricks. And pressure washing is not a good idea, and neither is sandblasting. So I do have some reluctance on, you know, just opening
I was
it up.
speaking more of the, like, for the fire hydrants and stuff like that, not actually sandblasting the bricks.
But I do have some concerns about that. historic preservation, in my mind, is not a bad thing, it's a good thing. Once a building's destroyed, it's over. And I come from originally the city of Alexandria, Virginia, which is very, very rich in history. And so I'm a little protective over the history of the buildings down here.
I completely understand that.
I would be willing to do anything with it. I think we ought to at least have a meeting and invite the public to come and hear the presentation and get their input. That's my suggestion. But if you say there's no need to make a decision, is this just an informative?
Well, it's in information, but certainly if the mayor and council see fit, we could go forward with a motion to approve street art on city-owned facilities. Again, I think that there is a fine line between historic preservation, and I tend to agree with the city attorney that a certificate of appropriateness is not necessary, and at this time, the owners of the buildings downtown could paint their buildings whatever they wanted in the front without running afoul of the Historic Preservation Commission. And if the store owner gives permission to paint a storefront depiction, sort of that picture that I passed around, and the interior going back maybe 3 to 4 feet, making a false front on it, that again, the Historic Preservation Commission cannot legally object, because it is not architectural change, sort of what we see is down there now. And there's nothing historic about a dilapidated storefront. I think that we need to do something to liven up downtown Grantville, and I think other jurisdictions, cities and everything, have used art to brighten up their downtown, and I think that getting citizens involved in helping brighten up our downtown is a good idea.
You know, I'm not against this at all. I'm actually favoring it, but I think it sounds like we need to study them a little bit.
Now, that's fine. Whatever the mayor and council care to do. Do we want to hold a public hearing on this?
I just would think like an open meeting and publish it and let it be known and give the citizens of the town an opportunity. I mean, this is not my town, it's their town.
Right.
And that's the way I look at it.
And they're actually the ones that kind of helped to fuel this for me. Like, it's my idea, but when I put it out there, like I'm a social media person, so when I put it out there, the feedback from them was what propelled me to go forward with this. I'm not getting anything from this. You know, I'm not doing this. There's no reason behind me doing this other than I don't want to see these buildings fall apart. And if we can use a gimmick like this to get them here, to give certain building owners reason to save their buildings and to do the work necessary to save them before it's too late and before they're torn down, that's what I want to do. And like, I completely understand, and I would love if any of y'all are on Facebook or whatever, just to see what the people are commenting back about their involvement and their excitement about the project. But again, I completely understand, and I really appreciate y'all listening, because I know that, like I said, change is tough. But do understand that preserving the history, and I mean, that's why if I pulled out the paint samples that are historic colors, for the storefronts, like I think that we can use those and keep that intact and keep the storefronts looking like something that would belong in Grantville. So.
Again, I think if we give the citizens the opportunity, that's all we can do.
Yep.
Give them an opportunity to come and hear what your plans are. And if they get behind you, it's gonna make it a lot easier, because you'll always have one or two that says, this is absolutely wrong.
I know.
But, or vice versa, the vast majority may say no.
Yeah.
And if you go into it and half the town not approving of what you're doing, it's not gonna make your life real happy,
Well, and I mean, this is their town too. Like, just because I don't live here now doesn't mean that I never will live here, but this is their town and they do live here. And obviously I want their support. If it's something that they don't want, then there's no point in doing that. I did have one person in particular that voiced a lot of concern. I think she hasn't given us a chance to talk, and I think she misunderstands the intention of it. She keeps saying, we don't need art, we need you to fix the buildings. But that's my goal. And that's what I keep trying to explain to her, is I'm using art as a way to get people attached to the city or the town so that they will want to fix the buildings. Like, that's my end goal. Because if the buildings fall apart, there's nothing left. Like, that's my goal. So that's really been the only feedback, negative feedback that I've had. Everybody, I mean, and obviously, the meeting would definitely help, but everybody else has been supporting, like I said, the local Boy Scout troops and Eagle Scouts. Like, they're excited about this. They want to get their hands dirty. They want to be a part of this. So let me know when and where, and I'll be there.
In looking at this in the future, you might consider kind of keeping it relative to the history of Grantville. That may make it go over better.
Can you repeat that?
Making it relative to the history of Grantville, making it involve the history of Grantville
Right.
with all this painting.
Yeah, well, that's what I
You see a Disney character on the side of a building down there in Grantville, and like I said, Grantville's here because of agriculture.
Right.
There's some things that could be kind of coincided.
Well, there was a yarn factory, and I would love to do something that's circular. Like, there's one of the pictures I showed you is like the Southern Belle sewer tank or whatever. I would love to see that painted up as a ball of yarn, and then tie that back to the history. Or train station, make the fire hydrant like a train engineer or something like that. That's kind of the whole goal. I mean, obviously not all of it's going to tie back, but yeah, I definitely want to tie those together. Historical lesson.
And maybe, I worked in St. Louis, Missouri, and right there on Market Street, they have art.
Right.
They spent a lot of money for this
Right.
art. All it is a slab of thick metal that has rusted. And some people call that art.
Right.
So and I wouldn't want to see that
No.
in our city. But anyway.
Well, I'm very, very passionate about getting people to, because I mean, my idea of something that's cute or fun or interesting may not be everybody else's, and that's why I rely so heavily on social media and saying, all right, let me throw this idea out, y'all, what do y'all think? And get people to give the feedback, because a lot of people are too lazy to attend meetings, and I have my kids at home. I have a babysitter right now that I'm paying, just so I can be here, but I know a lot of other people wouldn't, to be in a meeting, and I want them to show the support. And if they say something like, my concern is this, like one of the girls, her concern was that I was going to paint over the Away With You wall. And I was like, no, because that's something that attracts people here. Like, I would never do something like that. It's buildings that are in disrepair or don't have anything going for them, don't have history or whatever, and give them a reason to have significance in the town. So anything that people say on social media too, I definitely take into consideration. But I would love to have, like, I tried to get people to come here today and say, please, show your support. And they're writing messages on Facebook, sorry, I can't be there tonight, I have work, I have this. But no, I definitely want to hear, cheers from people.
We'll try to get something going and get back with you.
Okay.
Have housing.
All right, would y'all Do y'all want this to look over, or, I mean, just to keep? I don't need it back. This was really for y'all.
Or that,
Yes, sir.
You guys?
I get back with you. What we'll probably do is schedule a public workshop, and this will be on the agenda for the 13th.
do that.
We'll do the public workshop prior to that, probably at 6 o'clock.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, next order of business, the approval of the addendum to manage security services dated July 16, 2018.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. This was forwarded to me by the police department and the court clerk. This managed security services addendum, certainly I had never seen it before. Obviously, it's addendum to a contract that was signed prior to my tenure, although it's dated 7/16/15, and I was here on the 7th day of July in 2015. This is for 36 months. It's a cost of $11,764.78. It was sent to our IT consultant, Tim Bish, asking if it was redundant. I didn't get an answer that it was redundant. I got an answer that it was probably something that we could use. According to the municipal court and the police department, this is the security system on GCIC. Comes from the sheriff's department and they control it. However, this addendum was passed to us, and because of the dollar amount, I bring it to you. I noticed that it is to municipal court and the police department, and as the city attorney has said, they're not a legal entity. So it has to be retitled in form of the city of Grantville. And I'll defer to the city attorney for any other comments.
I really don't have any. I don't understand what the service is either, so I can't address that. I did review the contract, as the city manager indicated. I picked up, there's some contact information in here that needs to be updated. The contract does need to be between the city of Grantville and this company that's providing the service. I will say, as is often typical in these type contracts, it does require that if there is any dispute regarding the contract, that dispute has to be resolved through mediation or arbitration, which will take place in Chicago, Illinois, because that's where the company is located. And there's also what's called a forum selection clause in there that says if for any reason there has to be any litigation relating to this contract, that the parties agree that it will be filed in Chicago, Illinois, again, where they are. Otherwise, the contract seems to be, in order, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have that I can answer.
Anybody got a question?
Do y'all understand this?
Do I?
I don't know what it is. I do and I don't. I mean, it sounds like y'all are a little unsure about what it is.
Well, it's the security system for GCIC. And what it does, it protects that, and it gives you notification 24/7 if something is awry or it goes down. That is the important thing that the police department liked. that when I sent it to our IT consultant, he agreed with that. It is more timely, and it seems to be an added layer of security to GCIC that the sheriff department, sheriff's office controls, and they recommended approval.
So you and the city attorney understand it and approve it?
I don't understand what the service is or what it does, so I'm not making any statement as it relates to that. I'm just saying I've reviewed the contract and recommended a couple of modifications to ensure that it's a legally binding contract, but I'm not making any statement or recommendation as it relates to what the service is and whether or not the city needs the service. I don't understand that or know anything about that.
I really can't answer that. It's the first I've seen of it. Pretty much I'm aware of all the contracts, whatever. The only thing I can think of is that we have GCIC has to be completely secure. And so that's the only thing I can think of, is that it's some sort of intermediate company that makes sure that GCIC information doesn't, get out to the public. But I have not seen this contract, so I do not know.
Well, it kind of
I
sounds
think
like,
that's what it is basically, there's two things, GCIC and NCIC, well, there's an Interpol also, but basically, I think there's a requirement that there be some kind of level of security so that he could not go online and get your criminal records and all that of our files.
Yeah, that's why I sent it to our IT consultant and asked him, the question was very simple, is this redundant or do we need it?
I think it's required.
And he never answered that question. However, when it came down to the time limit, which was the 16th of July, he said that he recommended we get it. That's
so we
why.
hadn't had it up till now.
Oh, yes, sir, we have.
It goes back to the year 15, right?
At least.
Yes, sir, if
So
not
are
before.
the $11,000, is that paying for what we've already used or what we're about to use?
What we're about to use for 36 more months. This is a 36-month contract.
So the city approved this at one time?
The city did.
I believe, if I don't interrupt, I believe that there was an agreement right after I come. I think we went to New Link, is that correct? As far as internet provider?
Correct.
New link, right.
And so I think this is a company that monitors all traffic out of New Link to make sure that GCIC and NCIC is secure.
I'm sorry, it just kind of sounds like they didn't know anybody else know, if it was already in place and it's recommended by the sheriff's department.
I'm only interested in is it a renewal or is it they saying?
Well, that's what they just said.
What are they?
We've already
What are they
paid.
addendum?
It's a renewal of the contract that, the previous 3-year contract that expired, or is expiring the 16th.
15 or 18.
Right.
Okay.
And I have asked them to keep it in place till we could make a decision because of the amount. I could not, nor the mayor could approve it without city council approval.
Maybe we could call this 312-477-4442 and ask, what is this?
No.
And there I go, I didn't mean to stir it up again. I just wanted to understand.
No, I assure you, I asked our IT consultant, I know what we pay for our security within house. I wanted to make sure that we needed this rather than we desired it. And it was his recommendation, we needed it.
Before we do anything, ask for any action on it, if that's the direction we're going in. For the record, I'd like, according to the minutes, it says, managed security services dated July 16, 18. In fact, it's July 16 of 15. So, just so the minutes reflect the right date on it.
No, we already paid up to, from 15 to 18. We finna, that he's asking to pay up through the next 36 months.
Yeah, I just pointed out there is a discrepancy on the year. Okay. Well, we gotta get a motion and a second.
Oh, okay.
Well, no,
You already discussed.
go ahead, we can, you go right ahead. You go right ahead.
Okay, I'll talk about you later.
Don't call my daughter.
Mr., I don't know if this is Mr. Mitchell or Mr. Grieshaber. Should it lead to litigation, how many people would be involved in traveling to Chicago? And would that be an expense, an additional expense for this, wouldn't it be for the city?
I don't think there's any question it'd be an additional expense for the city. Now, how many people might be involved, there's no way to know, because you don't know what, what kind of dispute it may be or what it may involve, but I don't think there's any question that would be add an additional expense to the
And so
city.
it could be, end up being, should litigation happen, more than $11,000. I'm just throwing that out there. You know,
Well, the city attorney was good enough to mention that their headquarters in Chicago and anything takes place up there. But it's kind of one of these things, I think, that it's just recommending we do, and we've already been doing it. I agree with you, Ms. Ruby, if something happened, it costs some money.
it's
but-
gonna be an additional fund. I'm just saying it because when it hits Facebook, somebody may have that,
Yeah.
thing.
I wonder if we've got some company right here in Georgia that provides the same service.
And you wouldn't have to
Guys
think
on road.
about traveling.
But if the sheriff department doesn't using it, then it may put us, throw a kink in it, right?
Well, I think if we don't improve it, we're gonna lose our access to GCIC.
Okay, that answers the question. Right there. Thank you, Mark.
Tomorrow, I tell him it was not approved, our access to GCIC may be terminated.
All right, one more question, and I won't say anything else. The last 36 months cost how much?
I do not know.
But we know that the next 36 months are gonna cost, they're asking for $11,000.
Correct.
Okay.
$11,764.78.
I don't know why I asked that question. We don't know what the last 36 months cost. I mean, it's one thing if it cost half that and it went gold. I don't, but basically, we're kind of like you here. We're in between the rock and hard place.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Well,
But I'd make a motion to approve the amendment of management security services dated July 16, 2018 to keep the coverage in effect for our police department and our court system.
and I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion to accept the addendum.
And authorize the mayor to sign.
Authorize me to,
Authorize the mayor to sign.
I have a second.
You do?
Please second it.
We have a motion to second. Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so ordered.
Thank you.
Next order of business, citizens' comments. Nobody wants to comment? City council comments. Al?
I don't have any, I think I've done said too much.
Mr. Mayor. All right, Mark?
I'll start with the presentation that was made tonight by Pam Burris regarding downtown. Everything we have tried has failed. We've tried to put businesses in, we've tried to get the building owners to do things, and we haven't made a dent yet. And I've been here for 6 years, and I think it's time we try something different. We get the businesses involved, we can get the property owners involved. That'll make a huge difference. And I think we'll have a public hearing on that, and we'll see what the general public in town wants. Mr. Willie, you have accomplished a beautiful project. Your time and effort is something to be admired and will last for generations. Your efforts are only outdone by the efforts of your parents to bring such an activity to an accomplishing end. I myself have 2 Eagle Scout sons. I was a Scoutmaster for 15 years, Assistant Scoutmaster. And your project has beautified the city, and I personally would like to thank you for doing that. That was a very nice accomplishment. And second reading of the car wash ordinance. I was in car washing for 30 years, and if you can get 50% reclamation center working, it should not be too difficult. Probably 65%. 95% is I have done with some hoops, but so I definitely have to say I'm in favor of the water reclamation systems. I've even improved them, so if you find somebody who wants to build a car wash in town, come see me. I'll take care of it. Other than that, thank you all for coming out tonight, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Willie, I just want to say I am impressed with your persistence, your endurance, and your perseverance as you work to put those benches out in the park. It speaks volumes to the old as well as the young. Thank you so much, and I hope you keep on in that being persistent and and persevering and enduring. And great things await you, I do believe. We are very thankful for your parents who have helped you along the way from the very beginning. And we just thank you so much. And to our presenter tonight, thank you so much for presenting. And change can be difficult, but change can also be good. And so I just want to thank all of you for coming. And I hope one day when we come back to City Council at our next meeting, that the place will be filled to capacity. Because this is a great city. I don't know why this lighthouse is sitting up here. I don't know why it is, but it's not clean. But we'll talk about that at another time. But thank you so much for coming. I hope you have a great evening. Thank you.
All right, I thank everybody for coming out tonight and being a part of the city government. Really, I can't say enough. I am very, very, very impressed with what you guys accomplished out there. And I know your mom and dad was there to help you, and I appreciate their efforts. And getting the benches up, but also, like I said before, I appreciate their efforts in accomplishing, raising a fine young man like you. I know that they've got to be proud of you, but I appreciate everybody coming out. I definitely appreciate what you've done for this city. And it seems far off right now, but when you're in your 40s, you'll be able to ride through here and say, I did that.
That's right.
And you can look at it with pride, too. But thanks, everybody, and I appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor, I think the gentleman wants to speak to you.
I think he needs to.
He was trying to get your attention during the comments, but he didn't get the opportunity to.
Do what now?
The gentleman wanted to speak during the comments, and he raised his hand, but nobody actually addressed him. I don't know if you want to give him an opportunity to speak or not.
We'll allow you to come up
Okay.
if there's no.
Oh, I will take just 3 minutes to kind of build off of Ms. Burris's message earlier. My family's been in the Coweta County since 1945. I grew up here, seen a lot of changes.
Would you state your name and address?
My name is Blair Craig, and I actually live closer to Moreland. Like I said, I used to work for the Noonan City Council back when I was in high school, and I've seen a lot of changes in the way things run with what I call the hysterical society. One thing they forget is historical pieces of property or, just statues or anything. They're nothing unless people know they're there and they're worth looking at. But just some thoughts too is Grantville and Turn and some of these other little townships in Coweta County have a lot of potential to become the new Sonoyas and even as much as Noonan. But to draw in the business and to draw in the people to actually see it, it's going to take a lot of beautification. And some of the things I've seen done in these other small towns like Moreland is they get together 2-3 times a year and they have a town cleanup. And even though like section 11222 of your own ordinance, where the building owners are responsible for the safety of their structures that they own, I think the people of Grantville need to understand they own this town too, and they've got to take ownership in beautifying it any way they can. And it may take a grassroots, it may take leadership from your level, but just painting alone, I don't see it. Maybe flowers along with it, and keeping just any way that you can beautify the city will help draw people in and even start some businesses. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Appreciate.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor and council members. Just want to tell you for your information, on July the 16th, 2018, the Joint Transportation Coordinating Committee, of which I'm a member, recommended to the Coweta County Board of Commissioners that they consider implementation of a T-SPLOS for the county. That's a separate tax for transportation. If the municipalities in Coweta County agree with the county commissioners, it can be a tax of 1% for 5 years. Their projected revenue would be $1 million. If the participating municipalities do not agree, then it can only be 0.75% for 4 years. That was a recommendation of the Joint Transportation Coordinating Committee. It goes to the Coweta County Board of Commissioners for their consideration, but I thought you might need that for your information. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Appreciate. City Attorney Mark.
Just one quick item, the city received an application for rezoning on July 19th to rezone the property at 100 Charlie Patterson Road from single-family residential to light industrial. The Planning Commission is going to take up and consider this application at their meeting on August the 9th. Our ordinance requires that a public hearing has to be held, and that has to be advertised, and the property has to be posted. So I'd like to request tonight that the council set that public hearing for August the 27th. That will allow us to go ahead and advertise and get the property posted in advance, sufficient advance to meet the requirements of our ordinance and state law. So we can get a motion to set that public hearing for, I don't know if you want to do it at 6:30 or at 7 on the 27th.
Heard the recommendation, city attorney, have a motion.
So moved.
Okay, what about the time? 6:30. 6:30. Normal time?
6:30.
Okay. Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion, second, any questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We will call for a hearing, public hearing on rezoning on Charlotte Patterson on August 27th of 18 at 6:30 p.m.
All right, so we'll get the necessary ad in the newspaper and get the signs posted on the property. Thank you, sir. That's all I have.
Okay. No reason to go into closed session? No other business come before the council. Adjournment is in order.
So moved.
Have a motion, second.
Second.
Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye. We are adjourned. Thanks again for coming out, ladies and gentlemen.
Mr. King, did you bring this up?
I did.
I don't know why you brought it. It's nasty.
That's supposed to be seen. That's all federal.
Mr. Mayor, they'd like to get a picture of all you with Mr. Sykes.
Me,
Yeah, hey, if you all, where's Miss Hines?
I'm not
Okay. If you all would come around, please, when you're done. Good job, how many? Good job.
I've got this trip, I want to see some of the process. Yeah.
And my grandson lives in Houston, and we did a map of the United States.
Yeah, that's, I've seen that.
State capital.
I've seen that. Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah, this one was, it was intense.
I know it was rain or whatever.
Yeah, did you drive by and
I did.
see? It's right here, Todd. These got